write something down, we want to test it, and we want to scrap it and do it again. And keep doing it until you find resonance with the target market. And that is the basis of a good business model.
Hey, I've got a great idea for a business.
That's exciting. Tell me about it.
I've developed a chemical isomer that links to volatile organic compounds causing carbon bonds to rupture and wraps them in a nanotube coating.
Huh. That's a little confusing. Can you dumb it down for me?
Sure. What I do is I take a proprietary isomer that I developed with a picric acid wash that hollows out the carbon bonds and replaces them with a nanotube wrapping.
Okay, so I guess it's pretty technical.
Oh yeah. I've been working on this isomer for 9 years.
So what's the business idea?
To sell it.
To who?
Everybody will want one.
What for?
So they can wrap their volatile organic compounds in carbon nanotubes.
I think you might need a target customer. I don't think I need to wrap my compounds in your nanotube.
Well, maybe not you.
So, for people who buy it, what's the value you are providing them?
I've developed a chemical isomer that links to volatile organic compounds causing carbon bonds to rupture and wraps them in a nanotube coating.
You've said that already. This is getting annoying. Why should anyone care about your isomer?
I spent 9 years on this.
I know that. Okay, pretend I'm an investor. How can I make money off your product?
By selling it.
You're a smart guy, but try not to think like a scientist. Think like a business person.
Okay. Value chain. Term sheet.
I have to go now and answer that.
That's not your phone.
I know.
So does that scenario feel close to home for any of you on either end of that? Two perfectly smart people who are not communicating at all. Two people who have different backgrounds and could very well have something that each other wants or needs, or could be a value in a business situation. But there's no communication going on, no successful communication. This was based, by the way, on a real client that I worked with in my first 6 months here at Mars. And those were the words he was using. And I'll tell you how that ended up a little bit later. But it was very frustrating for him, because for him, the value of what he was doing was self-evident. Because he'd been living it for 9 years. But the value to the market is not self-evident. You need to explain it to them in clear, concise language. We sometimes call it the 6-year-old test. If a 6 or 7-year-old can understand it, then it's good. Words that you use in your industry as shortcuts do not belong in your value proposition. Words, empty words that describe something in a non-tangible way do not belong in a value proposition. You can tell somebody something is innovative or unique or amazing, and they won't believe you because everything's amazing. You need to tell them what it is you've got, and by the power of the words you use and the power and the strength of your product, they will realize it's amazing. If you tell them it's amazing, they're going to ignore you. Right? These are not words that we use in advertising copy or in our day-to-day communications. So here it is in plain English. Chris in that video said pretty much the same thing. A value proposition is a statement. It's one sentence, maybe two, of the unique benefits delivered by your offering to a target customer. It sounds so simple, and it should. That's the goal of good communication, simplicity and clarity. This is what we're striving for in the next 45 minutes. We're striving for a simple statement that describes the value. So, another way of saying this in the kind of lean startup manner, if we're talking about the management process of testing your value proposition, think of the value proposition as a hypothesis. You're hypothesizing, because you're not in the market yet making billions of dollars, you're hypothesizing that if I create this fully and if I have access to that market, I will exchange value for money. Like any hypothesis, it needs to be tested before you put a lot of money into growing it. You might be convinced in your head that this is going to be a billion-dollar idea, right? But your head doesn't write checks. The market does. The market needs to validate. And in some of the other sessions, you're going to hear about some very fast ways to test customer interviews, customer observations, click tests, fake web pages that describe what you do, but you just don't actually do it yet. And all you're doing is counting clicks. Where are people clicking? And what are they actually interested in? The statement itself has 3 components. Chris talked about the triangle. I could have rearranged these into a nice triangular icon. I just thought I'd list them. It has 3 things in it. What is it? This is really hard to do. It's really hard to explain what is the thing, unless like you make tires or coffee cups, then it's easy. But for most of us who are doing work in technical fields, either web and online mobile technologies or in biotech, in this building, lots and lots of biotech, clean and green technologies, energy efficiencies, sometimes it requires a little bit of explanation. But if you can pare that down to its core function, its core value, that's when you're really communicating. Number 2, for whom are you creating that value? Who's your target? You heard it in here, everyone. Everyone's my target. No company has started with everyone as their target market. Well, maybe there have been some, but companies who serve pretty much everyone now, like Google, did not start with everyone as their target. They had a niche, and they killed that niche over and over and over until they earned the right to go out to the next market segment, and then the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one, and they grew. Sometimes we call that the beachhead, right? Make a landing in a market, carve out a niche for yourself, and then expand. Don't try to go too broad all at once, because then the tests you will do when you're interviewing people, and they're from all different target markets, different ages, different demographics, you won't get good data, as we say, right? You'll get this data that contradicts itself. Oh, this person loves this feature. This person hates it. This person wants more cat videos. This person hates cats. You'll get all this data that contradicts itself, and it's tough to make a decision to move forward. Number 3, the value you provide them. Values, when you combine these 3 pieces together in a sentence, they should fit together in a way that is totally unique. Instead of saying, my thing is unique, show them it's unique by explaining it in a way that they've never heard before. Okay? So let's go through some examples and find those 3 components. These are value propositions that I have written. They don't have any sort of authority in describing that company. This is my understanding of their value. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show 2 versions. On the right-hand side of the slide is what I would consider a bad value proposition. So this, and I've picked things that people know. So this is Winners, the department store. So here I've tried to describe what Winners does. It is an off-price department store owned by TJX that employs international sourcing and buying power. Is it clear to anybody who's not in the department store game what this is and what they do? We know they're a department store, but I don't know anything else about them and what value they bring to me, how they're different from the Bay or Eaton's or other department stores. So let's simplify that language, okay? Winners is a department store that offers fashion-conscious consumers the latest brands for up to 60% off. So let's parse that. What is it? In red, it's a department store. That's a clear category. People get that. For whom? For people who are buying fashion, for people who are buying clothes, but who are fashion-conscious, right? Latest brand names for up to 60% off. So they're listing 2 values there. So the latest brand names, that's kind of the value of status, and an economic value. They are saving money, over half. And they're being very specific with the 60%. So that is pretty clear. I think most people could probably be good. I understand what it is, who it's for, and why I might go there. If I was that demographic, that should speak to me. I should be like, cool, I'll check it out, or I'm eager to learn more. This is our friend in the video. A1 Industries has discovered a chemical isomer additive that allows for a reduction of VOC emissions. Now, I'm sure there's a few scientists in the room who are going like, yeah, I get that, that's awesome. Value propositions are not industry specific. They should be a communication tool that you can use at a conference or at a dinner party, right? Or when you're meeting customers for the first time. After months and months and months of, not months, I'm exaggerating. After 3 weeks of working with this guy, 3 sets of workshops, we finally got him to this. A1 Industries has developed an economical and easy-to-use chemical additive that allows paint manufacturing companies to reduce the environmental impact of their products. So, what is it? It's a chemical additive. It's a thing you drop into your liquid with an eyedropper, right? It's a thing. I didn't even know that when he was speaking. For whom? Paint manufacturing companies, specific, targetable. What are the values? It's economical. It doesn't cost them a lot, right? They just add these drops into their line, and the result down the other end is that the products are environmentally friendlier, right? Reduce the environmental impact. So they've got a green value, right? So now they can add green to their to their frontline label on those paints, and probably charge more actually. Okay? Now, this guy looked at this and he says, yeah. He says, I've been saying that for 3 weeks. For him, they're synonymous. For him, when he describes the chemical isomer that allows for a reduction of VOC emissions, he in his head just assumes that, well, that means we can make things more environmentally friendly, and it's a chemical isomer, so it's easy to add. Right? But we need to spell these things out for people. The other thing, too, is he kept pushing back on us, and he said, you don't understand how amazing this thing is that I've invented. You can add it into any manufacturing process that has a liquid anywhere in it. Casting plastic chairs. I don't know, what else is plastic? Anything else that's plastic that is cast from a liquid form, you can add this, drop these isomers in its liquid form. So it makes a lot of things greener. We had to show him that a startup of 2 people cannot tackle every plastics and manufacturing industry that uses liquids. It's impossible. So you need to pick your lowest hanging fruit. You might have heard that term before. What's a market that you know, or that you might have some experience in? Do you know people in that market that you could call and say, hey, can I get a meeting? Check out on LinkedIn, who are you connected to? What's a market you have access to? Okay? Google. Google uses a patented page ranking algorithm to make money through ad placement. That's a true sentence, but it's not particularly informative insofar as telling you what value they bring to people. This kind of describes their business model, how they make money. So, Google is the world's largest search engine that allows internet users to find relevant information quickly and easily. What is it? It's a search engine, which is a category that did not exist 12 years ago, but 15 years ago, but it does now. That allows internet users, so in this case their target is all the users of the internet. It didn't used to be, but it is now because they own everything. Relevance, speed, and ease of use. Those are their 3 values. Those are their 3 values. Ease of use is so core, and when I talk about Google here, I should put a little corollary here that I'm speaking of Google, the search engine. I'm not speaking of Google, the behemoth that owns everything. Each of those divisions, each of those subdivisions have their own value propositions, right? I'm talking about specifically the search engine. The ease of use piece is a core piece of Google's value, and one of the reasons it became so popular. I can't imagine how many times they had consultants come into Google and say, you know how much white space you have around that box there? Fill it with ads, fill it with stuff. Fill it with widgets. You're wasting this space. Millions of people see that every day. You could make so much money on that homepage. And they said, no, we want a box, and people put stuff in the box, and we give them results. That ease of use is, I mean, you know, my mom, God bless her, knows how to use Google, but not a lot of other things that happen to be on the internet. But Google's an easy one, right? It's just a box, you type stuff in, and off it goes. A quick question for you. This is a little twist. Some of you have what we call double-sided business models. Are internet users, my mom, me, really Google's customers? Yes? No? Who are the customers? Advertisers. Me and my mom, and all of you, probably, are Google's end users. But we don't actually pay the bill. This is a value proposition for the customers, the ad companies that pay the bills. Google is the world's largest search engine. You've still got the same product that automatically provides advertisers with potential customers tailored to the ad content, increasing click-through rates and conversion. Now, that is actually a little jargony, click-through rates and conversion rates. Not like your average 7-year-old kid would understand that. But the customer would understand that. What is it, search engine? Who's it for? Advertisers. What are the values? Automation. Tailored, so it's adaptable. Increasing click-through and conversion rates. Those are basically increasing the rates that turn your advertising into money. Right? They've got algorithms that show if you can increase those click-through rates. So if you click on an ad. So it's important when you've got a company, and this is common for social entrepreneurship, when you've got a company or a not-for-profit where your end users, your end beneficiaries are not the same as the people who pay your bills, you need to have 2 or more value propositions. I work with education. Spongelab Interactive is an education company, an education technology company. And with a lot of education technology companies, the same is true in healthcare. You might have a list of 8 different stakeholders who need 8 different value propositions, right? For us, there needs to be a value prop for the teacher. What's the value it brings the teacher? What's the value that it brings the principal? What's the value that it brings the district heads, the union, parents, kids themselves? Anybody who has a say in whether or not this gets adopted needs to be shown that this thing brings them value. And the words we use are very, very different for each of those segments. And the only way to figure out what words to use is to talk to a lot of those people and figure out what words they use to describe their problems and their lives.